Am I too loud in your
Yep.
ears?
Always.
Stop.
All right.
Okay, well, welcome to the Hunt Harvest Health podcast. First podcast of 2023, and hopefully it's going to be
First podcast in a while.
and it's going to be the first podcast of many for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so we are at our home right now. We just had New Year's yesterday, and today is January 2nd. And we haven't done a podcast in a really long time. I feel almost newbie at this. We haven't had a
Well,
conversation.
clearly we're newbie. It took us about 20 minutes to refigure out how to do a podcast with all these connections and broken wires and all
And
kinds
now
of
there's
stuff.
wires everywhere, and I'm afraid to even move because of it. Okay, There we go. And the other thing is, hold on. Okay, and the other thing is that we are going to be recording this for YouTube, and that was another thing that took us a little bit to figure out. We did do a little bit of a remodel. I did a remodel this summer while Ryan was gone hunting, and I wanted to turn our extra bedroom into a podcast room, but it sort of turned into my office / extra bedroom /
room.
storage room, and we wanted to have all kinds of cool things on the wall. Like if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a really cool, huge elk right above my head. But it's so big, as you can imagine, because Stealthy Hunter only gets ginormous animals, that if I hang it any lower on the wall, nobody can actually walk into this room. So that means we'd have to be standing up on boxes to do our podcast. And we finally just decided we can't do that. So the podcast room hasn't panned out as well as we thought it would be, but that's also too because we just haven't recorded any podcasts.
Yep. Yeah. So I think we listed our whatever resolutions the other night, every one of us, from Tana, Paley, me, you.
Yep.
One of the resolutions wasn't to do more podcasts, unless you had that on your list.
I did have that.
You had that on
Remember,
your list?
I
Okay.
had to do one podcast a week.
I didn't have it on my list, but probably should have.
That's not surprising.
We have decided that we do need to, or we want to do a lot more podcasting this year, because we were pretty dang bad at it last year. 2022 was kind of a bust for our podcast.
And so one of my resolutions looking forward is that I want to put more effort into the content and into the podcast, because I actually enjoy podcasting. You've done a ton of podcasts, just not
our podcast. Yeah.
Ryan's a common podcast guest, especially in Gritty. Him and Gritty do tons of stuff together. And other podcasts that he's been on. I've actually been on quite a few podcasts last year. I was a guest on just a few. But, we didn't really put emphasis on our own podcast. I think that's just more of a time issue. And looking back last year to 2022, this time last year, I had COVID and I had it pretty bad. So I was in bed with a migraine and not functioning very well for a while. And Ryan was still getting over his COVID. And I feel like the last year just went by like that. I mean, even my kids were like, it just seems like we had Christmas. Last Christmas was not that enjoyable for us. But this year was 100 times better. So
nobody was sick this year. It was great.
Nobody was sick. We went skiing. We hung out with friends. We really enjoyed Christmas this year, which was awesome. But looking back, 2022 for me was not a good health year. I really struggled with some post-COVID stuff and trying to keep working. And so I guess the podcast and everything kind of suffered here and there.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm coming out of that. It's taken a while. And for anybody who's dealt with any health issues in the last couple years post-COVID, maybe you can sympathize a little bit. I was going to put a podcast out. So I have a health coach that I've been working with through Canada, a girlfriend of mine. She's a researcher, and she's really helped me this year, and we were going to put a long COVID podcast out. We put together a webinar. We put together a ton of informational stuff to help people. But I have to honestly tell you, I wasn't really into sharing that information the last year, and it's constantly changing, and the research is constantly changing. So we're going to wait and do that in 2023 as we get, as I get healthier for one, and as we build more information in that. So if people are struggling out there with that since you've had COVID, it seems pretty common. I now have tons of patients who are dealing with post-COVID side effects and even, shall I say, post-vax side effects. But so
Can you say that?
I don't live in California, so yeah, I can say that. But if I lived in California, I'd be on the chopping block right now.
Next, as a doctor.
Yeah. So I'm just glad that 2022 is over, and we are all healthy. So that's kind of.
Yep. That was my first goal of 23. Is as a family, all stay healthy, and then obviously, as everybody's, one of the goals is always to be in better shape and stay up on the diet and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I think so far so good. We're a couple days in, and we have no sicknesses. We haven't had any sicknesses in the house for a while.
The flu has been very high this year. So we get tallies every week from the county here, Gallatin County Health Department. And the flu and COVID are always neck and neck. And actually, there's more hospitalizations and deaths from the flu right now than there are from COVID. So that is out there. Obviously, on the news, you heard about RSV too. That's out there if you got little kiddos. But as a physician who works with sick people, these things are just all too common. Just like COVID, it's coronavirus. We're all potentially going to get it. There's a small percentage of people who will never get COVID. Like, they just will not get it. Their immune systems don't have the same reaction. So that very small percentage, and there's some of us who maybe never get the flu, that kind of thing. But the flu's back, and I've been shocked because I've been going to work, and I swear every day I have a couple patients come in and they're like, oh yeah, my husband's at home with the flu, or I've had a cough. The big one is the flu cough for like a month. People getting bronchitis.
I know a ton of people in the last probably month that have had it, and it's wiped through their entire family. Doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun this year's flu.
Yeah, so that's been going around, and we have skirted it. I'm not going to say we won't, because I think before we got COVID, we were kind of like, yeah, we're good. We're not going to get it. And then we got it. We got it good. So anymore, we just kind of, I think for me, I'm realizing how important the fundamentals of health are, so that when you do get something, how your body responds. Now, looking back, people might say to this, oh, well, you got long COVID and blah, blah, blah. And I would consider myself pretty healthy. I was working out every single day before COVID. I was lifting weights. I was in really good shape. But there's definitely a few things about my lifestyle that weren't great. I didn't sleep very good. I had poor sleep habits. I was high anxiety. I was overworking, which is probably a reason why in 2022, there wasn't a ton of podcasts, because I realized when you're overworking, you're creating a stress on your body. And for me, that's not a good mixture. Like, overworking just causes me to be an anxious mess. So I think those were the things that led me. And then I also had a prior history of head trauma. And I feel like when I got COVID, I got a concussion again. That's what happened with me. So maybe it was some of my pre-existing stuff. I've also dug into my genetics more, which has been really interesting. And we maybe can talk about genetics on future podcasts. But I think my genetics played a part in it too, is how well I can overcome something that was that severe in the nervous system. So for me, it was really about getting back to those core fundamentals of not pushing myself with exercise too much. I really couldn't. I probably spent 6 months not being able to do any weightlifting, but just walking. So then I got in the habit of 2022 of walking every single day, which was not something I was doing before. And getting outside every single day, because prior to that, I was working out in the basement. and in the dark, usually at 5 in the morning. And I just started getting up and going outside every morning, working out outside, taking a walk every day, maybe doing yoga, whatever, I don't know, sitting in the sunshine. And I feel like that was a game changer for me. So I have more preference of going outside now to work out than I don't really like to be in the basement as much. And that was a big change for me. But I think it also goes to show you sometimes the healthiest people can get things that you feel like you're super healthy, and you can get things that are going to last a little longer. So you have to go back to those core fundamentals. And that's what I tell every single patient, and what I try to tell myself is there's core fundamentals that everybody needs to live by. Now, Ryan may be an anomaly because he really pushes himself in the on season, when he's doing these crazy hunts, and sleep deprivation's probably in there, overactivity's probably in there, right?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
But I also have another theory, is that he goes out and camps out in the middle of nowhere, and there's no electromagnetic fields.
What about when we're watching movies in our tent next to a hot fire in our teepee?
Well, you're not getting cell service, are you?
No.
So
most often not.
There's no cell service coming in, and you're not in a house with electronics. You don't have like refrigerators on and furnaces on and Wi-Fi on. You just have your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the only signal, like electromagnetic signal, that you have, maybe besides your watch. And you don't even wear a watch. Like your phone is pretty much all you use, right? So,
yeah.
But you're out in the middle of nowhere. You don't have I go to work every day, and if I turn my wireless thing on, there's like 50 things that I can see on there. And some people hide their wireless network. So in my office where I sit and see patients all day, the amount of electromagnetics that are just flowing through that office are insane.
Mm-hmm.
Now here at our house, we have our phones, we have a Wi-Fi router, and we obviously have electricity. So I don't think it's just Wi-Fi. I think it's actually electricity too, because we went to an off-grid cabin for Christmas to ski, and the only time the electricity was on is when we had the generator on.
Yeah, it was total off-grid. Normally, there would be batteries, or we wouldn't have to have a generator going for power use after the generator was on, but batteries weren't working, so it was complete off the generator power. So once we shut that off, there was nothing, no juice.
And did you notice when you shut the generator off, like there's a feeling like when you turn the generator on, like all the lights come on?
Yeah,
the electricity.
I'm not that sensitive to that stuff. I know there's a lot of people that are. I think you are.
Yeah, I can
You
tell.
noticed it in your ring that tells you kind of your sleep patterns and how much more like REM sleep that you get when everything was off than the other. But I'm not that sensitive to that stuff. I know you were talking about sleeping very well once the generator was off, and there is no light anywhere. But for some reason, I sleep that hard in a house like ours that is overrun with electromagnetic.
I'm just highly sensitive, and I always have been, but I think since COVID and just having that nervous system influence, I've become more aware of it. Maybe it's just because I'm older too. I can tell. And then when we stayed there, I was like, so at night, it's totally quiet. There's no generator on, so there's no electricity running through the house. There's literally, the bedroom was freezing cold because we were in the downstairs bedroom, and the heat stove that created heat in the house, we went with the Livisays, and they stayed upstairs. They had to open the windows to their room.
A really nice wood stove that really cranked out some heat.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
But it was cold, which I think makes a huge difference, because we have a furnace at home, and I've had to program it at night to stay really low. Otherwise, it kicks on.
Yeah.
And it's too hot. I can't handle it.
Well, the one thing that does affect my sleep, if anything, is too hot. Like if you're get your bag zipped up, like a 0-degree bag or 15-degree bag, even when it's warm, and you're too hot and you're sweating, then I have very poor sleep. But I sleep much better when it's a colder environment. So
Well, we do know that body temperature drops at night when you sleep, so having a cool environment is very important for good sleep. And now there's all these fancy gadgets you can buy and stuff, like bed covers that run water through them that cool your body temperature down, which I think would be really awesome. But if you just have a cold room, like go to an off-grid cabin or go camping at night and just like don't have a super hot bedroom, like that's probably another reason that my sleep was so good. Is it was super cold. It was no electromagnetics.
you know what we could do? We
It
could
was
just set
totally dark.
we could throw that teepee up real fast in our yard this time of year,
I
and
know.
you could just hop skip right out there and
Yeah.
sleep in the teepee all night.
Yeah. Well, I think after this
No
weekend, it made
electricity.
me realize that electricity does affect us. There's no doubt. You know, when people say the electrical light bulb was probably one of the worst inventions for human health, not our productivity. It obviously is probably the best thing for our productivity, but for our actual health, that's probably true.
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting. But yeah, I mean, my sensitivity to all those things, I became more aware of them after this year of illness. And so those core things like good sleep, making sure you are exercising, I would add to that, like go outside and get some exercise. Like that's really, even if it's freezing out cold, because you know, here it was like 40 below the week before Christmas. Now, I will say, I will admit, I did not go walking in the morning when it was 40 below because with the wind, it was more like
Yeah,
60 below. I
any
was not going to
skin
go walking.
exposed and it's gonna die on you. So it's
But,
dangerous.
you know, get outside even if it's cold and get some sun or just
Well, I
get
think
some
that's the
fresh air.
beauty of the adventures that a lot of us are able to take in the fall. When it is, you know, it's getting cold, but you know, you're getting all those things. You're getting pretty good sleep just because the fact that it gets dark earlier and stays dark later. So there are a lot of hours there. Unlike the summertime hunts or the early fall hunts where, you know, you may be getting, geez, 4 hours of sleep, maybe five. Sometimes you gotta get up early, get up to your glass and knob. When it's later in the season, you're getting a lot of sleep, and you got the outside air. You've got obviously for me it doesn't matter, but no phones that are working, so none of that. You're getting all the exercise. You're getting a lot of sun and good sleep. So I think that's a big reason why I feel my best out there by a mile.
Yeah, you're just really lucky. I realize that so many people, like what percentage of the population do you think never
A
does
high percentage.
anything where they're daily getting outside in nature except for like walking? But if you think about if you live somewhere like New York City, you probably walk every day because like in New York City, people don't have cars. So they go outside, they walk a ton. But you're in a concrete jungle. Like you're in millions of people, tons of cars,
Yeah,
electromagnetics, power
the air is
lines,
a bit different in New York City
clean,
than it is where
dirty
we go.
air. So I'm not saying it's like, I guess getting outside is better than nothing, but like in some populations, like going outside is actually dangerous for your health. And then in the winter, places like we live, if you don't ever go outside because it's cold, like your indoor air conditions are probably worse than they are outside because you're stopped up in a house. You've either got wood stove or you've got even just a furnace. It's blowing dust, you know, like you kind of need to get outside somewhat because we know air quality in houses is not that great unless you have air cleaners, which we do have air cleaners. And Air Doctor, they're not an affiliate of ours, but they should be. Those are the air cleaners that we use in our house. They clean out all the smells and the mold and the dust. And you don't think your house is dusty until you take out a filter out of one of your air filters and you're like, whoa. So not only that, we have dogs. So we have tons of animal dander. 3 dogs. Yeah, too many. Lots of animal dander.
I hear dog dander is good for your health,
Oh
just
my
kind of
God.
like eating dirt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's good for the immunity.
So anyways, yeah, and then what was the other one? Diet. How do you feel you did on your diet this year?
My diet, just food overall. I think it was good. It was decent. We ate quite a bit of meat, good clean meat. Can always be better,
Yeah.
but overall not bad.
Yeah. So this time last year we were doing the gut restoration. We had a group of people, and if folks you want to do that, that's on our website. We've got a bundle on there. You can go and do it. It's like a 28-day, sort of like a detox cleanse, clean up your diet, get ready for the new year. It's not a diet, just a program to help clean stuff up
Been
a
real
little bit.
popular. A lot of folks really do like doing the gut restoration at least once a year.
Yep. I'm planning on
But
doing a newer
be
program.
prepared when you do take the detox
Oh no.
on the gut restoration. I know multiple people have reached out and asked about it, Brian included, but the detox does detox your body. So, if you notice any weird, funky stanks going on, it's your detox.
So
your body detoxes
yeah,
some
the
funk.
detox, maybe I have seen, like, I can take 4 a day every day, but the more that when I do take it, I definitely have more body odor. And I think it has to do with you're not drinking enough fluid. So most of us are not drinking enough water in our given day, especially if you're super active and you're sweating all that out. And that's great. You need to sweat that stuff out. But if you take the detox and you notice you're really stinky, the first thing you need to do is increase your
Coffee. Yes.
No, increase your hydration that's not caffeine related. And then you may need to do some saunas or some more sweating with exercise. I mean, you're not going to do saunas, I know that, but I would do saunas, and, getting that stuff out. Again, going back to just, we're all got lots of toxins and stuff in us, and you never know. But yeah, the detox does do that. It's kind of meant to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing, but be prepared.
Yeah. So, all right. Anyways, those are kind of that's my rundown of 2022. I really don't consider it my best year. I really don't want to relive another year like that. And I'm feeling pretty positive that this year is going to be better. So, how was your 2022, babe?
It was filled with all kinds of fun adventures.
Yeah.
I will say. I was very lucky in 2022 to go to some cool places, revisit some old places, and get to spend quite a bit of time out there. From the summits were a big success. We held 3 of them out on the ranch here in Montana. That was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I didn't talk about those. Those were the best. That
It's
was
like a
the best month.
vacation in a way for everyone, even the kids, because they get to play with the other kids, and they're outside the whole time. There's no indoor time at the summits. Very, very small amount of that. But we rolled in, out of the summits and into some fall stuff. We did some camping to some places that we like to go and hiked around. That was good. I think that was valuable. Caught some high lake trout. Everybody, even Tana got into it, and she was catching some grayling and things like that.
We had a camper for the first time this year. So we slept in our camper. We were able to cook in our camper. We had a stove in our camper.
We got lazy.
Cushy.
Yeah, I've seen people with these nice campers and cargo trailers and, just having kind of a luxurious camping trip versus what we've always done, and just bringing a tent and just throwing that up. The camper's nice. It's got heat. It's got a little stove in there that we can use, and it's got a little awning. And we had our good friend Dave over at Enzy kind of do a build out on it. And we've talked about this before, but no, it's very cool to have that. And then we used it a lot, actually, on a couple of hunts, late season hunts, where, we'd have that to come back to, which was very nice when we were parked at minus 10 degrees on some of those late season trips. So we'd be able to come back and kind of recover and reload our food and kind of get our bodies warmed up very well, because my gosh, that was some cold temps comboed with some very fierce winds. We had some ugly weather this fall for sure here in Montana.
Yeah.
But
we're having a real winter this year.
Overall, yeah, got to see Alaska. Again, got to fall back in love with Alaska because it'd been a while, but had some great adventures up there, and folks probably maybe not everybody, but have seen the film, so you could see we had a great trip, very successful trip, to the point that, right now I'm trying to figure out how to do it again. So that's top of mind right now this time of year. But yeah, I think we crushed it with adventures. Got to see some really cool, wild places, and again, that's going to be the goal for 23. And we're currently trying to build out the calendar, and it's filling up pretty fast. But got some really unique trips coming in 23. In fact, there's a couple different trips up in Alaska, so it's pulling me back in up there.
Yeah, I'm afraid Ryan's going to end up living in Alaska. He's just going to say, I'm not coming back. When the last kid turns 18, he's probably going to be like, not coming back.
No, that's not the case, but
I'll see you when it gets dark out here.
Drew a cool tag last year, which goes with this next year for Alaska. That's kind of how it works year out. But get to go up and hunt some black bears with a bow, and that's going to be a trip. And then I think I have managed to figure out another way to go up and chase moose for cheap, which was the goal.
Last night, Paley said, "What? You're going moose hunting? Where are we going to hang another moose? Like, the moose you got this year is sitting downstairs. We're waiting for the wall hanger to come for it. And where are we going to put all these ginormous? I mean, this moose is ginormous.
We will find a spot.
Anyways,
we will find a spot.
I'm just worried that it's going to be like elk now. Elk is like, we have so many elk, we don't even have enough wall space, and now you're gonna start getting moose that are like 3 times the size of elk. Like, how are we gonna?
They're pretty cool. That? They're pretty cool, I will say. Just the adventure aside from the big antlers that come back with you.
We're gonna tell everybody like, so if you want to go moose hunting like Ryan did, just be prepared. You may not be able to like move your upper body for about 2 weeks after you get back.
Well, just the wrists. Yeah, that was a pretty intense float. Guys got to see in the video kind of what we did, but they don't get the full gist. Brian, I mean, so much gets cut out from these trips. We floated a very, very long ways, and those boats were, as you saw, very, very heavy. We had 10 animals in those boats, and the river happened to be very, very windy, and it was a lot of reefing on oars. For about half the days that we were there, it was just back and forth, rowing river. So, yeah, I think with the coldness of it and everything else, and then combo that with shuttling meat so often, yeah, I felt like my wrists were just trashed at the end of it. My grip strength was gone, and so I will be better prepared for that next time. But next time, I'm probably going to go back and forth and swap out having somebody else do a little bit of rowing versus doing it all myself, because that boat was ridiculously heavy and the turns were tight. So it was a lot of just putting everything you had into it for a lot of miles.
Yeah.
But a lot of that gets chopped out, and you don't see it on film. But yeah, definitely eye-opening for when you're floating that kind of distance with that heavy of a boat. Trying not to get pulled under a log, because there's constant logs kind of kicking off these high banks from beavers, just dropping them in the river, and that's what you're trying to avoid an accident. But yeah, so that was in a nutshell. I think 2022 was great, but 2023 is going to be even better on the adventure side. Got some cool trips, and I noticed when we put down our goals the other day for 23, anything jump out at you like on Paley's goal list? Because it was pretty good from what I heard. I mean, I think our first 2 were like hunt bear.
No, it was draw a male or...
Oh, she wants to get a buck antelope. That was one of them.
And then...
she wants to get a bear, and then she wants to get
a mule deer.
Another muley buck. So...
All right, 2023, here we are. And before we know it, it's going to be June, which means Western Hunting Summits.
Summit season.
Yes. Last year was another epic season here in the great state of Montana. And this year, we're really excited because we're possibly going to be in a new venue. We aren't going to let you know where that is yet, but it's in Montana as well. And we are really excited. We're going to have 2 summits this year.
Yep.
Mule deer combo with elk, and then we're also going to do an elk archery. And we have a lot of return folks, which we absolutely love. We have people that have come every single year. We have a lot of families coming back again this year, a lot of kids coming back this year. We decided last year the kid thing worked so well, just have the kids come to any summit they want
Yeah,
with an adult.
we noticed that we had these activities planned for the kids, kind of aside from the grown-up stuff that we were doing. And we realized real fast that the kids just wanted to do what we were doing. They wanted to do the hike. They wanted to do the overnight. They wanted to shoot the same targets at the same distances and kind of do what the grown-ups were doing. So we're like, man, why don't we just work it into have the kids be able to show up at any event and come shoot and hang out with their parents or grandparents or whoever they come with. And so that's what we're doing in 2023. Both events are kid-friendly, and we've already seen quite a few folks sign up. So we're going to have a great turnout. And I know my daughters love it because there's other kids to play with, and they all have a really, really good time.
Yeah, kids are tough too. They pretty much do everything their parent does. So.
Yep.
If you don't have kids, you can still come. Please come. There's levels for everybody. Yeah, there's something for everybody at these summits. So if you want more information, you can go to westernhuntingsummit.com. You can find both summits there, the dates, etc. We will be posting up new speakers and the location very soon, we promise. Again, just takes a little bit of time to get these things figured out, especially when you got so many people that you've got to find a place for them all to go. westernhuntingsummit.com. And now, if you're listening to this and you use the code StHealthy, you can get $100 off. And just a little secret, if you buy 2 tickets, which means you bring somebody with you, unless it's a kid, because the kid tickets are very discounted already. But if you bring your spouse, your buddy, I don't know, your dad, you're going to get $100 off already. And if you use the code StHealthy, you'll get another $100 off. Go to westernhuntingsummit.com.
Yeah, some good lofty goals for
Yeah.
Kaylee.
Yeah, and she wants to make the top 5 in basketball, so she's
Yeah.
working at that, which I think she can do. She's kind of a natural born basketball player. And yeah, everyone had a good list. A 7-year-old's list is, the lesson in doing these, I think, with the whole family is that obviously, like, my goals is almost 50 is very different than the 7-year-olds, but the 7-year-old's goals are these very like present oriented goals, meaning she's like living in the present right now. She's like, what do you mean I'm going to write goals? What does that mean? Okay, well, what would you want to do in the next year? What do you want to accomplish?
I think her first goal was go to the mall.
Go to the mall
Go shopping.
because she has a gift certificate.
She has a gift certificate.
Yeah, she wants to go to the hot springs, which is her favorite place, and we end up having to go to the hot springs.
And she wants to go to Florida.
She wants to go to Florida because we went to Florida last year and she loves the swimming pool. So hers are very like present oriented, which is great. Not these huge, big, lofty goals. They're pretty much like
camping was on her list.
Camping.
Which is cool.
Yeah. So that was fun to do. And actually for me, it's really hard to narrow it down. Like I have way too many goals and I realize I'm not going to get all of them done. So for me, this year I've sort of made a decision and I don't know if it'll happen because one, I don't know if I can commit to everything I would like to do. But I turned 50 this year and I am sort of committed to making my life simpler. I'm decreasing my work hours in patient care. I'm going to put more hours into Hunt Harvest Health. But I also, between those two, I don't want to work all the time. I want to have adventures. So as you hear, Ryan's list is like his year is all about adventuring and my year is all about work. And that's really lame. So I
mean, we have other goals too. With the business, aside from the adventures on my end, that was one of the goals. We want to grow our lineup and, have more success with our small business, our tiny little business of products, supplement lines. We have visions of adding a few more SKUs that we feel would really round out or line
Well, I
up very
think
well.
too
So
is like that's sort of my job. Like Ryan's thing is like he does the gear and he designs things and he's doing things for his hunting trip. And yeah, the supplements, I guess we could say Ryan uses the supplements, but really the supplements is my area of trying to figure out what's going to benefit the community and
yeah,
stuff. And I just haven't had enough time to do it. We have been so fortunate in the last 2 to 3 years since starting StHealthy Nutrition. We have had an amazing community of people buying our products with a very small lineup, and the hiccups that can come along with that. And I mean, for a year, you guys were buying CBD from me. Like, I don't even have credit card processing. So I was like, I think that this community of people is so awesome and so trustworthy and so dedicated.
yeah.
But
And even when we screw up, which we do often,
oh yeah.
um, people have been very gracious and not yelled at us too hard. So they've been
No,
very
it's very
understanding.
rare that somebody yells at me. Once in a while, I get somebody yell at me or be mean to me on through email, and it's okay. Here's your money back. Go on with your life. I don't really need to, get to know you. It's all good. But I mean, we're talking that's like
It's very, very
1%.
rare. Yeah,
So
it's not 1%. It's way less than
it's less than that. It's yeah.
that.
So, 1% is high, but what I'm saying is that we've been really fortunate to have people support us so that we can grow this small business. And that's helped me realize that I do need to not just think about work all the time. Like I said, 50 seems, I think, in as far as like it's sort of a big milestone, and I want to kind of look back on maybe the next 10 years of my life that I was not just working myself to death, because I do think that a lot of us do that and we look at like retirement or enjoying our life or whatever is like in the future. It's in the future. And then how many stories do you hear of people just not enjoying life and working too much, and then I don't know, they get cancer, they die of a heart attack, they get killed in a car wreck. I mean, there's things that can happen and you just don't really know. So I think too the COVID situation the last year was just a good reminder that when you push yourself too much, like you can push yourself over the edge, and sometimes you need to not constantly be pushing yourself all the time. You need to be thinking about things that are going to, of course, improve yourself, but like enjoying the process, which is one thing I haven't been very good at. Um, so this year, I would definitely like to contribute more to this business. I want to grow and expand in this business. We have a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline. The problem that we've had, folks, is not that we don't necessarily want to bring these things to you, is that we don't cook these things up in our basement. We have to go through manufacturing. And manufacturing in the last 2 years has been really difficult as
Yeah,
far as keeping things in stock.
everything manufacturing in the U.S., which is where we are, is difficult, and it's not us. It's everyone. It seems as if there's hiccups the last couple of years for sure. I mean, it's tough enough as it is, but then add the challenges of the last couple of years on top of it. Most products that are built here or manufactured here are just having tough times. So consistently is difficult. Price hikes, never ending price hikes on materials and things like that. It's just tough. So it's really hard to be consistent and just get to a point where it flows very smoothly, because there's always a new hiccup that comes
Right.
up for sure.
And if you do, like, let's say supplements, for example, you have to get in the queue to get a supplier to work with you, and that could take 6 months alone. So it's not a quick process. And luckily, Ryan's super patient. I get a little impatient, but I've come to learn there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you literally can't do anything about it. You just have to trust the process. And we have had some situations where the process did not work. We've
Yeah.
had to backpedal. We've had to leave
Well,
manufacturers. We've had to like
8 month setbacks for
invest a
sure.
bunch of money and then get money back. Like this is just what happened. So we're hoping that 2023 we're going to see a growth in that, but that mainly is going to be because of our contribution to the business. That's once we feel like we're starting to get really secure with manufacturing and that kind of thing, and now we can just add more to that. So
Yeah, one thing I've noticed with U.S. manufacturing is it takes a while to get the relationships built to where both sides are working equally. You know, getting orders placed in advance really helps them out, and they respect that. In return, they help you out as much as possible. So I've noticed, you know, on the hunting branded stuff that we've been doing, that has really helped. It's taken a while to build these relationships up to the point that they're accommodating me when I need something in a pinch or whatever, much more so now than in the beginning. So it just takes time for sure.
Yeah. So we massively appreciate everybody who has posted a picture, who has bought a product, who shared it, who bought gifts. I mean, we just got through Christmas and this was our best season ever. Like Christmas was, Thanksgiving and Christmas were our best months ever. Partially that's because of Gritty and his films. So we owe a lot to Gritty. It's because we did some giveaways. So we owe a lot to our partners like Harvest Right and GOHUNT and of course, Western Hunting Summit, which is our business as well. But, you know, that helps. But it's because we've like seen so many people just loyalty wise, just buying products and rebuying product. Like today we were doing some orders and I was looking at some of the back orders we have going on right now. If we're back ordered and you haven't gotten your product, I'm so sorry. It's coming very soon. Some people are literally buying something from us every single month. Like there's just it's been really amazing for us to see that. So that all being said, as we move forward into this next year, we realize that we have focused a lot on the selling and getting the products and the manufacturing and doing all this. And now I don't know what you need to do, but I kind of need to go back to the grassroots place where I was when we first started this whole thing, before we even had a product to sell, before we were even selling a hat or a t-shirt. We were giving you guys amazing content and we were giving you, recipes, and we were just doing a lot more than we have really been doing since we moved to Montana and obviously since 2022. Now, Ryan gives you tons of content because he's like in these films and Gritty is doing all that. But we got our own films coming out this year. And that is very exciting for us.
Yeah, we have one coming out here pretty soon. It'll be a really cool one. It's still a work in progress, but it's almost done. It's really close to being done. So I think guys will really enjoy it. It's kind of more of a lot of the films that are going to be on our channel are going to be more like family oriented, dad-daughter type stuff. So got a couple of films with our daughters this year that are going to be coming out here, within probably a month. And then we'll put another one out prior to bear season. So,
and who knows, because I think we have such an opportunity. We have a lot of different things we talk about, not just hunting, is that we have the opportunity to make films about a lot of different things. So, my goal would be obviously capturing Ryan's hunts and capturing this family time and all the cool stuff that goes on there, but maybe even capturing some of the things that we still have to do, food and gardening and just that would be something that I feel like we can really expand on. And that means that we will be doing more YouTube, which we really have not done.
We've been so bad at YouTube.
So bad.
Our channel has just kind of been parked there. It's grabbed a few subscribers and stuff, but we haven't contributed to it at all. So that is definitely a goal. And I think with the hunting films, those are going to be good, I think, but also the education stuff. We're going to do a lot more with food and, things that we get a lot of questions about. So
yeah,
that'll be one of the highlights that we add to the YouTube channel this year.
Yeah. So I know we've made a lot of promises in the past, but we will be recording all our podcasts. We'll be putting them on YouTube. So this will be our kind of first 2023 podcast. You can go watch it on YouTube.
Another goal is to make our backdrop, because this is a pretty boring backdrop that we've got going on our channel.
I tried.
There's kind of like you see like a little bit of skull up in there, but definitely not great. I see some guys, they do these things and they're
babe,
great.
Get on that, because I made a little backdrop over there, but you don't like it. It's probably a little too girly for you with our garden pictures. I like that. That's where I see patience. So that's what patience see. And there's bookshelf, because I like books. Like this is the one wall that doesn't have a bookshelf on it. If we turn it around, we have books everywhere else.
There are books everywhere.
I love books. So, my backdrop is going to be books. It's going to be this. And I tried to put this elk up because I like the elk. But like I said, like if I put it right here, nobody's going to be able, people are going to be goring themselves. So we need to get a better setup. The other thing is that I may be doing a new podcast as well with Gritty. And Gritty and I have talked about this extensively, and I think it's just the time to do it. But me and him are going to be doing a health podcast, which is going to be more, I don't know. He's, Gritty. Me and Gritty are almost like the same person in a lot of ways. We can talk a lot, and we have a lot of ideas. We'll see if it comes to fruition, but that's one of the other goals that we've talked about, to expand on the podcast thing with health. In this community, because I think it's an untapped market
on health education.
So yeah. So we'll get the backdrop figured out. That, or we'll just move it and change it.
And the other thing is, it shouldn't be an elk at all. It should be a giant mule deer or something.
Well, there's a giant mule deer right there,
hidden over in a dark corner over there.
We could hang a mule deer here, but again, the same problem. You're going to get gored with the mule deer antlers. Now, this would be fine if we said, don't anybody walk this far from the wall in this room. You can only walk, this room. And these rooms aren't very big. So the goal is someday we're going to have like a real podcast room, and it's going to be all fancy with like recording equipment.
Yeah. But our unfinished basement is where that was all supposed to take place. Still unfinished. We still have plans to finish it, and we got a lot of space down there to make it a pretty dang cool podcast room. Much larger than this one, and we'll actually have space to do stuff and make it look cool.
Yeah. So go to YouTube, check out, we do have tons of videos on there from the past. I mean, we got a lot of stuff on there, but you can go to YouTube and check that out. And our films we also have locals. Don't forget that. I have been really bad. I started a locals and I haven't done it, but we're going to post more to that. We're probably going to end up sharing a lot of our films there first. So if you aren't a locals member with either Gritty and StHealthy or Hunt Harvest Health, we'll be putting our films on both of those channels.
Yeah, in fact, the next film that I have coming out, it's going to be with Hannah and I on a trip we had. We're throwing it up on locals for everybody to catch it there way before we ever put it on the YouTube thing. Yeah. So it'll be good.
All right, so as you can see, 2023, we have a lot to do, but my goals is like to be doing less. Can you imagine? So for me, I want to travel a little bit more this year. I want to have more time to do the things I love to do. I'd like to write more, create more content. I'd like to sleep more. I've gotten my sleep game down since COVID.
To do all that, you have to sleep less, don't you?
I really like sleep. Ryan got me bamboo sheets, ladies. Oh my gosh, guys. I know there's a lot of dudes listening to this. If you want to get your woman in bed every night, get her some bamboo sheets. And I don't know what she's going to want to do in those sheets, but she will definitely want to be in the bed because it is so, you admit it, they are literally like sleeping in silk, pure silk. And they don't make you hot unless you have the furnace cranked up. So you don't sweat, I guess. And like Ryan got me bamboo pajamas, he got me bamboo sheets, he got me some bamboo pants. He's did a good job this year.
Yeah.
And you kept telling me, I don't know what I'm going to get you. There's nothing to get you. So you must have saw something on Instagram or something and it caught your eye.
I just heard all this sleep talk about how she enjoys her sleep so much. It's like the best time of her day. She'll crawl into bed and say, this is the best time of day. And so I thought, well, I better go heavy on whatever it takes to be the most comfortable.
Well, my next goal is I'm getting a new bed because I've had a bad hip, and I notice when I sleep in the guest bed that's a little softer, I don't have the hip pain. When I sleep in our bed, it's a little firmer, which I used to like, but I do. So my next goal, once I get there, is we're going to get a new bed, and I've been researching beds, but Cozy Earth are the sheets. And again, they're not an affiliate of ours, but they should be. I might look them up because they are awesome. And they're well worth the money. Even Ryan agreed, no more cheap sheets. We're done with the cheap sheets, right?
They're not cheap.
No, they're not cheap.
At all.
But it's cheaper than a diamond ring, right?
Yeah, and much more useful than a diamond ring.
Yeah. So the bamboo sheets were score for Christmas. What else for 2023? Oh, we're doing programs on food, finally, backcountry food. So that's our next project for the next 2 months.
Lots of projects, working with a lot of good companies and doing a lot of things in 2023. I think we'll detail those out, as we get closer. But yeah, the food courses and all that are going to be a big topic of discussion here in the next couple months as we get them all filmed up.
Yep. All right. So we're planning on doing a podcast a week. I'm going to state it here because if I state it here, then maybe I will actually do it. Right? Yeah. We're going to talk hunting. Ryan's promised me he's going to do hunting podcasts. Right?
Did I promise you? Really? Man.
It's how it is. It's the new goal. You didn't put it on your thing, but I put it on there for you. Your new thing. And then we're going to do health podcasts. We're going to still do interviews with people. I'm looking for people that aren't on every single podcast. Like, we love everybody in the community and we want to have everybody on. But if you've got cool guests or you've got a cool story, I don't know. Like, I want original things on here. So it's hard to actually find guests. I don't know. That isn't kind of like overused, right? Like Ryan, he's kind of overused. He's been on everybody's podcast. Like,
I know.
Who wants to have him on their podcast anymore?
Not me.
Yeah, so we
I'd
need
rather
somebody
not do
original besides you and me.
No, I think the emphasis, we talked about this, is more on food. I think there's great podcast guests. Like, one of my favorites is always Melissa K. Norris. I love getting her on because she's got a unique spin, and she's kind of like a homesteader gal that we follow and really love what she does. So I think she's always a good one. Selfishly, I love listening to Melissa K. and what she has to say about food.
And I love inspirational people, so inspirational stories. And these are people that don't even they've never been on podcasts, but we're going to be doing more of that this year because when we do the summits, we have people come from all over the country and we hear these crazy stories about how people have transformed their lives, lost 100 pounds, reversed their health. They live through traumas and like all this stuff. And they are just, I've heard so many cool stories. That's the kind of stuff I like to talk those people.
You know who I want to talk to? I want to talk to more dudes that are just living the Alaska life. I'm so enthralled with Alaska right now. Now, I will say this.
Living the Alaska life, send us an email.
So I on this last fall, September, when we were up there, we met several folks that a couple of them we actually went out to dinner with kind of at the end of the day after we were like working on meat at our Airbnb all day for hours. And we went out, we met some really good couples that had just been hunting. We met a couple folks that outfit up there, that guide up there for part of the season, and just some great people all around. I'll mention one of the gentlemen that I met. His name is Dalton Gray. He was talking to us about starting a podcast, and they ended up starting one, him and a couple of buddies. It's called the Northern Hunter Podcast. It's pretty good. I've been paying attention to it. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of burnt out on listening to podcasts. But their spin is all Alaska. They are Alaskans. Everything from guiding to just gear, the differences that they see in gear, Alaska gear versus, say, lower 48 gear. It's kind of been eye-opening in a lot of respects, and I really like how they're doing the podcast. It's been fun to listen to. So if you are interested in Alaska, which I currently am, check out that Northern Hunter podcast. It's pretty good. Really enjoy. I remember I was talking to you about Dalton a little bit, and I was like, yeah, he's only 25, but he feels like he's 50. He's got a lot of
he
life
reminds
experience.
Me of Jonathan, our being husband friend. When I heard him talk, I thought Jonathan was like a 50-year-old, like dude, he just sounds so wise and smart. Something about his voice. And when I met him, he was like 24. And I'm like, what? And he's the same thing. This guy was like, how old is he? He sounds like he's really old and
Well,
wise.
Dalton's a cool cat.
He's like
He's hunted
mid-20s.
his whole life. Yeah, mid-20s. Him and his wife Mariah, we met them. They were just kind of wrapping up their season, doing some guiding for moose. I know he does some sheep stuff, some bear stuff, and all that kind of jazz. But he also just likes to hunt. They've been up chasing blacktails in the islands and doing that, kind of winding down their year, and they just got a unique spin. So I really have enjoyed listening to them and just kind of getting some little nuggets of information, all things Alaska. And so hopefully in the future, I would love to, and we've talked about maybe doing a hunt together one of these years, maybe a blacktail hunt or something like that. But good people, really good down to earth education. So yeah, maybe check that podcast out if you're interested in Alaska.
Yeah. So that's where our goals are. And I'm probably going to do some books because I like books, like I said, and I read a lot of books. And so I don't know, maybe we'll do some book stuff. I know Gritty does that. I don't know if I'll get into, I'm reading a book right now on the history of Yellowstone, which I bought at the Museum of the Rockies when I took my kids there. And
not the series.
It is, no, not Yellowstone, the series. It's a book on Yellowstone Park and all the adventures that have gone through there and all of the native tribes that lived in there and like how they warred and how they like, it's very interesting. So I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. But I like health stuff. I like psychology. I like that kind of thing. So maybe we'll do some books as well. And let's see what else other podcast topics are we going to do? I think that, and gardening. So I know a lot of you love Sean. He was kind of our resident gardener here in Missoula, and he's a great podcast guest because people really like him. His cadence is nice. The way he talks, people really respond. And he's got a lot of great information because he has a farm. And I was reading Edible Bozeman this weekend, which is like a local Montana magazine about food and stuff. And there's so much in Montana now of these younger people opening farms and starting regenerative farming, having regenerative cattle ranches. I mean, I feel like every time I open these magazines, there's a new family that's starting something in whether it's animal husbandry, ranching, farming, chefs that are cooking, like my friend Scott, who cooked us an amazing moose dinner one night. We gave him some meat, and we went over to a holiday dinner at his house, and he cooked us a really yummy meal. So I'd like to talk more about that too. Speaking about food, is maybe people in our local here that are doing a lot of the things that Ryan and I were doing in Washington. We're not doing as much of it here, just based on our time and our climate. But there are people doing it here. So we'll have Sean on more. He's ready to do more podcasts on gardening. So any gardening questions you have, we're probably going to do seasonal gardening things.
Yeah, we'll be in gardening season before we know it. It's coming fast.
So we're going to talk more about that stuff too, because I know a lot of our listeners do that. Mm-hmm. And geez, I don't know. Have we beat this dead horse? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. I just want to say before this podcast is over, again, thank you to everybody in the last, couple years, but just in the last couple months that have bought gifts, have, bought product from us. It keeps us alive. It keeps things going. If it's back ordered, we're working hard to get it to you. We promise. It's on our daily stress list about getting stuff done. But we are a small family business, and we do everything, and we have our hands in everything. And sometimes it's not perfect, but we just want to say thank you. Also, in the month of December, we raised quite a bit of money for 3 charities. We gave 5% of our income to a charity of your choice that was on the website, Mule Deer Foundation, Hunt of a Lifetime, and Sportsman's Alliance. Yeah. So we did raise money. I haven't done the totals yet, but again, every product that you bought, you gave 5% to charity of your choice. So thank you for that. And I'm big into charity because I believe giving back is really important. You know, I've also written an article on the website about our Afghan families that we help support, that all of you help support and bring to America and have them to get lives. And your support has greatly improved the lives of over 8 women and girls who would have been living in Afghanistan at this point, not in good situations. So there is a blog on our website about the updates with them. I encourage you to go there and read that. And thank you so much for everybody who donated last year to that cause for these Afghan families. And then, of course, you know, the year before, we donated to a farm that was burnt down here in the Bridger fires to help them get back on their feet. And so to me, I feel like I love giving back and I love the charity piece of it. This season, we chose to go with hunting associations that were giving back to people. And so maybe we'll get some of those folks on. We can talk to some of them as well in the hunting industry that are doing good charitable contributions to our communities. That's just what I want to say. I just want to say thank you for holding on with us and being here. And my goal this year is to provide more content for you. So,
yep.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, I don't know. I think you got it.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, we hope that you have an amazing January, that you're all somewhat healthy. And like I said, get outside, get some exercise, start eating healthy if you don't already. Get your wife some bamboo sheets.
Build some adventures.